What is good, YouTube? We are finally back with another video. We got part 2 of No Limit, Chicago's Deadliest Gangs. If it looks a little bright, I got a ring light right here, so let me know how that new look looks. I hope everything's set up right. Looks like it is. Type shit. So we're gonna go right into it. Part 2, No Limit, Chicago's Deadliest Gangs. Now, I appreciate everyone that watched part 1. Views kind of went up kind of quick, for me, at least. But yeah, hey, we streaming tonight and tomorrow night, maybe, hopefully. I'll see, but let's get right into this video.
With things escalating even further with every week that went by. The summer of 2013 in Terrortown was as violent as they get. C-Mo from No Limit is allegedly playing an active role in the gang, hunting for ops all summer. But on June the 26th, 2013, he'd be allegedly thrown out of a store on the 7500 block of South Yates Boulevard, where story goes he was spotted by a group of Black Mob members, which included shooter shells.
Hey, yo, I'm about to mute my mic when I shoot. I don't like that shit.
The area quickly becoming a crime scene as paramedics would rush to save C-Mo's life. But it was too late, and sadly, C-Mo, real name Cortez Bailey, would be pronounced dead in hospital. According to his sister, C-Mo had even been targeted in a shooting.
Bitch go crazy.
His murder. But following the news breaking of C-Mo's death, No Limit affiliates would mourn the loss on Twitter. Cairo posted RIPs, and in the years that followed, he would continue to pay tribute to his fallen friend publicly, as did Ramo, and of course G Herbo, who would rap about C-Mo in numerous songs like his Computer's Freestyle, where he said that he would let off 16 gunshots for C-Mo. But the No Limit members would barely have time to mourn their loss of C-Mo before tragedy would strike once again, as only one day later, the news would break of yet another No Limit death, because the same day that C-Mo was killed,
nigga, a day?
Jr. would be riding in a car with friends around the 7500 block of South Merrill Avenue. At about 1:30 p.m, the car passed a group of around 6 to 8 people, standing on a sidewalk who recognized the group in the car and begun to open fire, with Tracy himself being shot in the head in the vehicle, with him being pronounced dead in hospital, only the day after the news of C-Mo's passing. The news would report on Tracy's death, pointing out that he had been murdered just a week after his high school graduation. G Herbo even would rap about being with Tracy the same night he was killed on the song Riding With It. No Limit members would go on to mourn the loss of their friend Tracy on Twitter, but despite the continued disrespect from their rivals, No Limit's opposition would soon take losses of their own. A few days later, on the 30th of June,
that's my birthday.
24-year-old with alleged ties to Black Mob,
no
was at the Greater Metropolitan Church of Christ, where he had apparently helped the pastor carry supplies into the church, attending the service, and then leaving the church to walk to a nearby corner store. Whilst he was standing outside the store on the 2400 block of East 75th Street in South Shore, he's allegedly spotted by a crew of No Limit members, which included Mad Max and others. That group would run up and shoot him in the head, leaving him dead at the scene, with Jordan's body being photographed by reporters whilst he was left on the street covered in a sheet whilst investigators secured the scene. Following the murder, Black Mob members would refer to this territory as Jordan World, but meanwhile, only a week after the murder, No Limit Ramo would tweet about it, seemingly pointing to Mad Max aka Lil Chris or Killer Chris as the shooter in recent fatal shootings. So while Mad Max was building up his reputation of Killer Chris, the fearless shooter from No Limit with countless bodies, story has it over in Black Mob, Shooter Shells would cultivate a similar reputation, apparently driving around the No Limit strip looking to avenge Jordan with other Black Mob members. And it was on one of these trips that they would apparently eventually spot a beloved No Limit affiliate by the name of Pistol P on July the 3rd, 2013, around 6:50 p.m. on the 2400 block of East 79th Street. A male gunman would hop out of the green car, shooting Pistol P in the back as he ran. Pistol P, real name Rayford Brown, collapsed on the 7900 block of South Phillips Avenue and would sadly later die in Northwestern University Medical Center. This was supposedly yet another personal vendetta, as Pistol P had allegedly been responsible for the killing of Hakeem from Black Mob back in 2011. No Limit members would mourn the loss of their beloved friend, with Ramo tweeting that the ops had taken his shooter away, vowing to get revenge and promising in a tweet that he would send those responsible to meet Pistol P, as well as boldly telling the world around a week later that he was getting up to attend Pistol P's funeral. G Herbo would even go on to name his musical project the Pistol P Project in his honor the following year, and naturally, the numerous losses on the No Limit side empowered KTS members to take to the streets once again, with another installment of the No Lackin' series being released, with members telling their ops don't get C-Mode.
Fuck fellow!
Don't go rock, that's all I'm gonna tell you.
Don't go rock. Don't go Pee-wee.
Nah, these niggas is wildin'.
Damn, that's a squad back there. I don't even see the squad. I don't see the squad.
They would also continue to mob through the streets, with it at least seeming as if people were running away from them.
Lacking on that east side, get whacked. Squad! Lacking, get clapped.
Cut through! First phase on! First phase on! Motherfuckers running! You running? Hey, why y'all running? Oh! Look at them running! Look at them running! Look at them running!
I don't see nobody, bro.
Look at them running! They running!
But sadly, the violence would continue on the streets of Terrortown through to the end of July. Once again, Shooter Shells and other Black Mob affiliates are sliding in Terrortown, looking for their No Limit rivals. On July the 29th, 2013, the Black Mob shooters would allegedly pull up on 79th and Oglesby Avenue, just outside of No Limit territory. Here they would spot Richie Rich from No Limit, real name Richard Pierce, with a shooter hitting him in the head and the neck,
God
with Richard
damn.
unfortunately later being pronounced dead. The loss of Richie was mourned by Mad Max on Instagram, as well as by Cairo, and at this point there was really no sign of the bloodshed stopping anytime soon. But the next loss the No Limit crew would suffer would come as one of the most devastating, because just over a week later, beloved NLMB member Kobe would lose his life to the streets too. Another heartbreaking loss that would once again echo through the music of G Herbo for years to come. The summer of 2013 was one of the most violent summers in the history of Chicago's Terrortown. After the deaths
How the
of
fuck?
Simo,
Yeah, I know I told you I was gonna do this part yesterday. I'm gonna post it yesterday, but I really didn't feel like recording, to be honest with y'all. So if y'all didn't fuck with yesterday's video, I understand, cause that shit it was sucked anyway. But y'all niggas subscribe anyway and go watch it, man.
Tracy, Jordan, Pistol P, and Richie, it's hard to believe that the members on either side would get away with yet more violence. But sadly, in August 2013, one of the most beloved members of the NLMB would lose their life. On August the 10th, 2013, 21-year-old Jacoby
Did this
Carroll,
nigga pass away in
also
front of a
known as Kobe,
McDonald's or
would be out enjoying
something?
a dice game with other members of No Limit like G Herbo, Cairo, and more. When things at the dice game died down, the members dispersed and headed home. Story has it that Kobe refused a ride, instead deciding to walk home through the streets of Terrortown. And unfortunately, once again, outside that very McDonald's in Terrortown, where No Limit members had been confronted by KTS members, Kobe would be caught once again by the opposition with a car pulling up and one individual opening fire, with it even being rumoured that another individual got out of the car, standing over Kobe and brutally shooting him in the head whilst he was on the ground. Kobe was found dead outside that McDonald's restaurant on the 2400 block of East 79th Street at 4:02 AM. And it's said that when the shooting went down, Herbo and Cairo heard the shots rushing with guns towards the McDonald's, but when they got there, the shooters fled. Kobe was pronounced dead at the scene, and his body was left on the streets covered by a sheet whilst investigators secured the scene, whilst officers bagged up evidence, eventually removing Kobe and hosing away a pool of blood left where he passed. Kobe was a beloved member of NLMB, and his death would hit the community hard. Following word of the incident spreading through the city, Kobe's murder would be covered extensively by the local media.
The more recent one was on 79th Street, just east of Yates. He was a 21-year-old man, shot a number of times. He was dead when police arrived, and you know he was out there this morning for a little bit while investigators taped off the scene and tried to talk to people. Not clear exactly what happened in that. A couple people out there said that they heard the gunshots. I mean, there was a lot of them when they found casings up and down the block. But right now, there's nobody in custody for any of these shootings overnight.
Kobe's family and friends would of course be heartbroken at the tragic loss, with G Herbo later naming his project Blick, or Ballin' Like I'm Kobe, in his memory, even putting Kobe's headstone on the cover art of the project. And during the press run for this project, G Herbo would speak with Sway on being there the night that Kobe was killed.
My homie got killed, and we was together, like, we was outside like 4 in the morning, just on the block chilling, shooting dice, all type of stuff. That's my homie Jacoby, who I lost a couple blocks over, just walked off, and we heard shots going off, a lot of shots. Kobe just walked off. We hear all them shots, and we get to the scene, and I see my homie out there dead, you know what I'm saying, laid out.
Herbo and his friends would even visit Kobe's gravesite in clips that still circulate on social media. Other No Limit members would mourn the loss of Kobe on social media. Meanwhile, the ops would be celebrating. And since the incident took place, there's been a lot of debate as to whether Black Mob or Lakeside were responsible, with some even believing that it was members from both gangs arranging this attack on No Limit. But for the record, many years later, a Freedom of Information request on the the police files around Kobe's case revealed that shooter Shells from Black Mob was named as an official suspect in the murder. Conversely, many believe that KTS Von and Posto were responsible for the killing, particularly because soon after the murder, KTS Von released a song called Kobe, all about Kobe's death. A song that featured a very disrespectful cover art that featured a picture of Kobe with a cross over him. And in that song, KTS Von repeats over and over again that he's smoking Kobe, as well as dissing Fazo, Rock, as well as dissing G Herbo directly, saying that he will smoke Lil Herb. And Von would of course later be seen on social media saying numerous times that he's smoking on Kobe.
Kobe hit the album for the O's. I'll be smoking no limit, bros.
While the public might never definitively know who was responsible for the killing of Kobe, members from No Limit like Cairo vowed to get revenge, with Von continuing to take to Twitter, replying to No Limit members mocking Kobe. After this incident, Posto would later tweet that he kills No Limit members, with some believing this may very well be an admission of having played a role in the killing of Kobe and others. From here, No Limit members would go back and forth with trolls on Twitter who mocked their dead friends, and KTS members would continue to escalate their disrespect. Twitter who mocked
Kobe got hit up there with some funny shit, don't like. Mo block for like, y'all ain't do it, what happened to Mo? That's
their dead friends, and KTS members would continue to escalate their disrespect,
niggas is wild,
eventually going as far as to have custom merch made, naming all of their murdered ops in a long list with Kobe's name at the top.
Who the fuck made that?
Continue to lurk in comment sections on his ops pages, ready to diss Kobe at the first opportunity, as well as making his own posts mocking Kobe for not getting a ride the day he was killed. Naturally, the war between these two groups was reaching fever pitch, and retaliation wouldn't be far behind. In fact, G Herbo would later rap on the 2021 track Pray for My Enemies that him and his crew made the trenches bleed and that they crushed their ops after Kobe died. And the sad truth is, in the many years that followed, the trenches would indeed bleed heavily, with young men on all sides of this war taking heavy losses.
Yeah, this shit's so strong, bro.
Finding a way out.
Feel like doing a backflip off the motherfucking.
Play out on the streets of Terror
I don't know.
After the death of their beloved friend
bro, chill.
members of No Limit were reportedly lurking around Terror Town, looking to kill a rival in revenge. And sadly, someone would lose their life only 3 days later. On August the 13th, 2013, 34-year-old Eric Chisholm was with another man in a parking lot outside of his home on the 7400 block of South Colfax Avenue. Around 9:40 AM, a light-coloured SUV passed by and a gunman began shooting from the passenger seat. Eric was hit and sadly pronounced dead at a nearby hospital at 10:20 AM, with police describing the scene as littered with shell casings. Since this happened, many have suspected Mad Max from No Limit as having played a role in the shooting. And following the killing, Mad Max and other No Limit members would be lurking in the comments to remind their ops that they avenged Kobe with rapid speed. And as the year went on, other members from No Limit, like G Faro, would tweet shouting out someone on his team for dropping bodies like Mad Max, with this perhaps being early origins for the nickname that would eventually become infamous. Despite reports that Eric had not been affiliated with gangs,
Now my phone
this
by the
incident
dog.
had been seen
Fuck.
as revenge against Black Mob by No
Y'all
Limit.
fuck with a new headset? These bitches wired. So I can get up.
Key members from rival gang Lakeside, which No Limit and their
Hold on,
numerous
y'all.
members had a personal vendetta
Niggas gotta get a
against.
charger.
Other than KTS, Von, and Dre themselves, the most wanted target for No Limit around this time would have been Posto. No Limit were desperate to get back at Posto for what some believed was the role that he had played.
It really aggravates me how this nigga saying his name. Nigga, are you a real G Herbo fan, nigga?
Posto was known for regularly mocking his ops and G Herbo on social media. Posto would be hard to catch, however, because he would end up being arrested on October the 5th in a scene caught on video. Posto would be released on the 18th of November 2013, and it would only take 5 days from his release for his opposition to catch him. On
Damn, what the
November 23rd,
fuck?
2013, at around 11:05 PM, 18-year-old Posto, real name Tyshawn Anderson, would be shot in the head in a first-floor hallway in the 2700 block of East 80th Street. Someone in the building called the police after hearing 3 to 4 gunshots, finding Posto laid out on the floor bleeding from a gunshot wound. After being taken to Northwestern Hospital, Posto would unfortunately be pronounced deceased at 11:50 PM. Cops would label the killing as gang-related, and in the years that followed, rumors circulated of a 2-man masked hit squad from No Limit, which included Mad Max, as being responsible. Others have pointed the finger at Crazy James from No Limit, with his lyrics on the song It's Real, including lyrics where he says, "Tell Posto pick his face up. This is no fairy tale, I drill headshots.
What the
I
fuck?
kill people." As a result of the hatred that No Limit members had towards Posto, following his death, members would mercilessly mock Posto on Twitter and Instagram, and in songs, with G Herbo actually making numerous tracks where he says he smokes Posto, and in a semi-successful effort to turn Posto into the Tuka of the East Side. Several other rappers have been heard saying that they smoke Posto on songs too, with one of those people once again.
What the fuck is 5-star? Huh?
Again, being pop sensation Juice WRLD, who would rap that he was smoking on Posto numerous times.
Smoking on Katy Pack, Impasto, and Mr. the Most.
G Herbo even claimed at one point to be starting a legitimate cannabis company named Posto Canna after his favorite murdered op. I'm sure the
niggas is crazy.
Together like Birdman at that one. But sadly, when it comes to Posto, the disrespect that No Limit have shown this deceased op reaches a shocking new low in Chicago drill history. Because in a since-deleted video which has been thoroughly scrubbed from the internet, we seemingly see G Herbo and Lil Bibby with other No Limit members at what they claim is Posto's gravesite, where they claim somebody urinated and defecated on his headstone. For the record, this clip has been thoroughly scrubbed from YouTube in the years that followed, but it still circulates on some website, but it's probably for the best I don't put that on YouTube.
Nigga, that shit definitely on Reddit, nigga.
Would be devastated at the loss of Posto and the ongoing disrespect, and KTS Von would be seen on social media spinning the block eager to avenge Posto, even returning to that very cursed McDonald's that has been so central to this beef.
Out here, man. Posto game, man. We were fast as shit up. Fuck you talking about? You don't want no McDonald's, bitch. Fuck rock. Posto game.
This nigga need to start making music, bro. Like, what you want?
No Limit members would allegedly catch KTS Von and shooting him in the chest, but he would get away and survive, with Von apparently spending weeks in hospital, later posting a picture of his weight loss on Instagram, saying that bullet made him skinnier. Meanwhile, in 2014, Mad Max from No Limit is allegedly arrested several times for numerous minor infractions that would end up taking him off the street for a prolonged period. This would mean that for a period of time, two of the most feared people in this ongoing war would be off the streets of Terrortown.
Nah, putting them bullets on the picture is out of pocket, bro.
Also a notable period for the music coming out of taking over the Chicago drill scene. After meeting at a youth center and bonding over their shared love of the rap game, G Herbo and Lil Bibby had risen to prominence off the back of their street anthem.
No, couple niggas that's down the ride with a
that put the No Limit rappers from Terrortown firmly on the map and up there with the greats of Chicago drill like Chief Keef and Lil Reese. And while tragedy continued to strike in the streets, Herbo would continue to put his pain into music, using his art to memorialize his fallen friends. His fallen friend G Fazo was immortalized forever in the title of his first mixtape, 2013's Road to Fazoland, and his first full-length debut project, Welcome to Fazoland.
What the fuck is this?
2013's Road to Fazoland, and his first full-length debut project, Welcome to Fazoland, which dropped on February the 17th, 2014. Also in 2014, G Herbo would get his first taste of success in the mainstream music industry, when he was featured on Nicki Minaj's underground hit Chirac, a tribute song to the violent underworld of Chicago. Nicki Minaj seems to really get into it, and on the track she even claims to be EBK or Everybody Killer. Meanwhile, on Nicki Herbo, Welcome to Fazoland, 2013's Road to Fazoland, and his
where the fuck is this at, bro?
project Welcome to Fazoland, which dropped on February the 17th, 2014. Also in 2014, G Herbo would get his first taste of success in the mainstream music industry, when he was
I'm really interested to see what this is.
The violent underworld of Chicago. Nicki Minaj seems to really get into it, and on the track she even claims to be EBK or Everybody Killer. Meanwhile, Herbo's verse on the song was full of grimy references to life in Terrortown. His iconic hook on the song saw him rapping that he knows a couple guys down for a homicide, and elsewhere on the song shouting out Rock Block. Off the back of this song, Nicki Minaj would give G Herbo an enormous opportunity to perform at Summer Jam, his first chance getting up in front of thousands of fans on stage. Herbo would go on to say that it was this period that changed his life, but all of the added attention of being a poppin' rapper in the rap game wasn't without its headaches. Around this time, G Herbo would be forced to deny that NLMB was a gang, with him doing mainstream interviews with rap publications like XXL, where he would sidestep any affiliations with Chicago's criminal underworld, telling the magazine that Terrortown was a war zone growing up, but the NLMB had stood for Never Leave My Brothers. And it would make sense that G Herbo would want to distance himself from the gangs in Chicago. A mass shooting in a Terrortown laundromat on June the 3rd, 2014, put the warring Black Peace Stones in the media spotlight once again. A gunman had allegedly walked up to a strip mall and fired into the crowd, wounding 6 people, including 14 and 16-year-old boys, with a 41, 42, and 52-year-old being shot in the arms and legs, and a 27-year-old woman also being shot in the leg. Hell, this shooting was so bad a woman even injured her toe just trying to run away. The police at the time explained that they knew that this was a war between factions of the Gangster Disciples and the Black P Stones, describing this rivalry as one of the most violent in the city. Now, there wasn't any evidence linking these incidents to G Herbo or No Limit, but it's natural that his affiliations would come back to haunt him as he made a name for himself in the legitimate music industry. In fact, it seemed as if Lil Bibby had also realized that in order to make a legitimate name in the music industry, one's old gang affiliations might just become a liability. And following the success of Kill Shit, Lil Bibby's rap career flourished too. Story goes is that when Bibby was still in the streets, he was much more concerned with making money than
NBA Live.
and this mentality seemed to translate into his music as well. His 3-installment mixtape series, Free Crack, alluded to themes of drug dealing and hustling.
But you really can't find them shits anywhere. At least on Apple Music. What real niggas use. Y'all niggas be using Spinrilla and shit. Grow the fuck up.
In the boardroom than in the booth, with Bibby eventually setting his sights on bringing through the next generation of successful musicians from his city, with Bibby famously discovering Chicago rapper-singer Juice WRLD and signing him to his label in 2017. But that would be a few years away at this point. But still, it's believed that around this time, Lil Bibby was already distancing himself of the street ties from his past. And apparently this even ruffled a few feathers, because in June 2014, G Herbo would drop his song Just Bars, which features a lyric where Herb says that he will never leave his brothers, but someone else got on and forgot their homies, with Cairo from No Limit revealing many years later that Herbo was sneak dissing Bibby with this lyric, saying that Herbo was mad that Bibby left the gang behind after getting his record deal.
Bibby got signed first. Oh, he got in his feelings about some shit. He branched off on the guys. So now it's just Herb left, you know? Bibby already said he separating himself. He on some commercial shit already. He made the song Just Bars, Sneak This Bibby.
Apparently around this time, unlike Bibby, G Herbo would remain in Terrortown, and the majority of the NLMB members felt that he was representing them in his music. And over the course of the rest of 2014, Herbo and other No Limit affiliates would drop songs referencing goings-on in the streets. On July the 6th, 2014, EBK Juvie drops Pistol Gang, a track dedicated to fallen member Pistol P, with lyrics also referencing Bud and Lolo, as well as shouting out Bibby and Herbo's mixtape titles, and even having a lyric where he says that Mad Max will come and kill people, and saying that they will do your mans like they did Jordan. And then on August the 24th, G Herbo drops a remix to Bobby Shmurda's Hot Boy. In the music video, Herbo is seen on the block surrounded by No Limit goons, and on the track he says a lot of incriminating things, like that he used to pop people before rap, saying G Mainski taught him to use others to do hits for him, and he says check the news, somebody went to sleep for Kobe. And in what might be yet another sneak diss towards Lil Bibby, Herbo claimed not to care about record deals. He would shout out VO and Pistol P, and as the year went on, Herbo would continue to honour his fallen friends in his projects. Of course, there was the Pistol P project in December 2014, and of course the Ballin' Like I'm Kobe mix.
Hey, I ain't like that shit at first, but I really listened to it last year. That shit,
and towards the music industry to become a legitimate entrepreneur,
yeah, that shit like that.
To take the opposite approach, proudly displaying his gang affiliations in his songs and music videos, with very little care to presenting a commercial and polished image to the music industry. And in a way, this worked for him, because while Lil Bibby was burrowing behind the scenes of the rap game, trying to make a bag without it all being about him and his music, G Herbo was becoming the face of Terrortown, carving a place out for himself in the Chicago drill Mount Rushmore. But the only problem was, eventually G Herbo would need to stay away from the streets and soften up his image, if not for the money, then for survival. But the sad truth is that the killers and shooters who stood by Little Herb, while Lil Bibby supposedly left his brothers behind, would wind up being extra hurt when G Herbo ended up doing the same. And naturally, in the years that went by, more and more bloodshed in Terrortown meant that those brothers who did get left behind would only take things more and more personally. Despite the likes of G Herbo and Lil Bibby getting opportunities to make money and build careers in the music industry,
then I got a my mixtape chain, nigga. Are you serious?
Remained for their friends still in the streets. The violence would simply continue as their block and their gang begun to get more and more famous from drill music. The next person to lose their life in the ongoing conflict between NLMB and Black Mob would come on the 16th of October 2014, when a Black Mob affiliate by the name of T-Bone, real name Alexander D. Smith, was walking down the 7500 block of South Koufax Avenue, accompanied by a 14-year-old boy. He'd allegedly be caught by rivals from NLMB, being shot multiple times and dying at the scene, with the young boy accompanying him also being grazed in the hit. Little is known about what happened after T-Bone was killed, but Shooter Shells would later rap about the situation, suggesting that he was upset that T-Bone was never avenged. But as you know, No Limit have many ops in the city, and separate to their war with Black Mob, they were still waging a war with Lakeside and the KTS crew. Their most feared shooter, KTS Von, was the top trophy for the No Limit soldiers. Von had seemingly taken a bullet to the chest in early 2014 that took him off the streets for a significant amount of time. But going into 2015, the war between No Limit and KTS would heat up once again. Ironically, for once in this beef, each side would trade shots at each other back and forth on songs rather than in the streets. On March the 10th, 2015, Bibby and Herb dropped Kill Shit Part 2, aka Ain't Heard Bout You, which featured lyrics where G Herbo invited his ops to pull up on him on Essex and 79th, as well as saying he smokes Posto, and naturally seeing as Bibby and Herb's careers had been taking off, with songs dissing dead ops, naturally once he'd recovered from his injuries, KTS Von would get back in the booth, recording some of the biggest songs of his career. On April the 10th, 2015, he drops the track Street Life, featuring a music video showing Von literally cooking crack on a trap house stove, and a chorus where Von says if he didn't kill for Posto, it wouldn't be right. He would rap that he got caught lacking when he got shot, but that every shooter isn't a killer. He also says on the song that he's smoking Kobe. And in a way, this song was a sad but true reflection on the dead-end street life that KTS Von had been born into. It came with other lyrics warning the listener that falling in the street life will have you doing awful things, like killing a friend of 10 years, or dying unable to fund the ongoing gang war. But it would be KTS Von's next song that would be the most famous of his career, and unfortunately, his last. On April the 29th, 2015, KTS Von releases the music video for the track Kill to Survive. The music video would feature yet more offensive merch listing their ops that they've killed, and the song's central chorus of Kill to Survive became the perfect national anthem for KTS gang members. Von would rap about literally living in the purge, and claiming to slide through Terrortown with Lakeside members, putting people in the sky while dropping fives. And following the track's release, he would be seen on social media, driving around the ops territory, blasting the song at full volume and showing off his pistol. KTS Von was beginning to make a name for himself, but so too was G Herbo, who continued releasing music referencing the war with Lakeside. On May the 31st, 2015, Herbo drops Back At It Part 3, opening his verse with lyrics about smoking Posto, Bud, Lolo, and T-Bone, as well as Scoob, who was the brother of Black Mob member Shooter Shells, who died as part of a different beef while Shells was in jail. Herbo would also acknowledge the McDonald's incident on this song, saying check the video because a few of the people from it, like Posto, are now dead. But sadly, G Herbo's lyrics would end up being much more prophetic than he realized when he recorded them, because soon the main protagonist from that No Lacking 3 video would also lose his life. Apparently, on June the 22nd, KTS Von would exchange threats back and forth with a No Limit member by the name of Chopper. And the day after this exchange, on June the 23rd, 2015, KTS Von, real name Davon Davis, was standing outside an apartment on the 7500 block of Ellis Avenue. Apparently high on pills at the time, he was alone and drugged up, essentially vulnerable to any of the many ops who would desperately want to pull up and catch him lacking. Around 2:05 PM, a group of men passing by in an SUV allegedly spotted him slowing down and firing shots. KTS Von would be shot multiple times, including twice in the chest and once in the head, in what authorities expected was a drive-by where they wanted to make sure he was dead. Von was indeed later pronounced dead at the scene, and weirdly it was also reported that shortly after the shooting, another mysterious SUV came down the block where the murder had been committed, rolling down the window with the occupant of the car asking the nearby crowd if somebody else got killed, with a woman apparently replying that it was a birthday party, whilst another man nearby would mimicking a gun and saying boo. KTS Von's murder would go unsolved, and whilst Von's friends and family mourned the loss of the KTS general, Big Cutthroat the Smoker himself, many theories would follow as to who was responsible for the killing. Chopper from NLMB, who had gone back and forth with Von in the comments the day before his death, would post a video online apparently right after the murder, rapping the lyrics about killing for Posto from Von's April song titled Street Life, changing the lyrics to say that he should have killed for Posto and now he's in the sky, and suggesting that all of their dead homies are now beating Von's ass.
If he ain't killed for Posto, it won't be right. He should have killed for Posto and kept his pipe. But now he up there for no business, Why your dumb ass?
And a day after Von's death, Chopper would also tweet that the ops are lacking whilst they're lurking. Despite not being formally charged in the case, NLMB Chopper would later be taken off the streets anyway, catching a murder case for killing a man who allegedly wouldn't share his blunt. Others have credited the killing to Mad Max, aka C Money or Killer Chris, after the shooting, Max would post to his Instagram a picture of a lion with a bloody face and a caption reading, "One picture, 1,000 words." And Max would also post yet another picture of him with No Limit member Mally, along with the caption, "Splash Brothers." In response to this, KTS Von's brother KTS Dre would even jump in the comments asking Mad Max for his phone number, which he actually provided. Another detail that had people thinking Mad Max was responsible was the fact that soon after the hit, Mad Max would change his description on Instagram to call himself The Smoker, which had previously been KTS Von's nickname. This would catch on, and No Limit, Diesel, and 30 Clips would end up releasing a song called Don't Get Exposed, where they claim to have took the name The Smoker from Von. And in the music video for that track, No Limit members were seen doing KTS Von's signature pose of having one hand over his mouth and another hand doing a gun sign to his head. Ever since the killing of KTS Von, No Limit members would seemingly adopt this pose en masse as a regular sign of disrespect towards Lakeside. Basically, once KTS Von died, everybody in No Limit was rejoicing. Ramo from No Limit tweeted RIP Kobe days after the murder. Chopper would continue mocking Von on his own Instagram. Ramo would point out the day following the after the murder, Chopper would continue.
God damn, he did not like this nigga. Oh.
Continue mocking Von on his own Instagram. Ramo would point out the day following the murder that most of the ops in the No Lack in Part 3 video are now dead. No Limit jocks celebrated with social media posts honoring Kobe and mocking Von. Now, despite the mountain of examples suggesting No Limit were responsible for the killing of KTS Von, other theories have circulated painting a different picture. Some suspect that Von's killer may have actually been a rival from Circon City, as only a few days after the killing of Von, a Circon member by the name of Eric Turner was gunned down, with one theory suggesting that the same man who killed Von might be the same person from Circon City who would kill Von's father, Vincent Davis Sr., which took place around a year and a month after the killing of Von. While it hasn't definitively been proven who killed Von, it's clear that his passing was the best news No Limit could have hoped for. But it's believed that after the killing of Von, KTS and Lakeside were out for blood, with a particular focus on Mad Max. However, in this case, revenge would be out of reach, because sometime after Von's death, his brother Dre would end up being taken off the streets as a result of
what is that shit on his nose? Like, is that a bump?
In the streets, now that two of their biggest rivals from Lakeside were no longer active, with one particular member of No Limit choosing instead to take things further with music and finally distance themselves from this dangerous street activity. Despite perhaps earlier feeling Lil Bibby had gone the commercial route and left his brothers from the No Limit streets behind.
Hold on, y'all. I gotta get some water, bro. I can't do this shit. Alright, y'all. We back.
For more options to take things mainstream. After his successful collab with industry heavy hitter Nicki Minaj and a successful series of mixtapes dedicated to the friends he'd lost in the streets, on the 3rd of September 2015, Herbo would attempt to build a business around his ear for music, signing a record deal with CMG Cinematic Music Group and changing his stage name from Lil Herb to G Herbo, with the CMG founder praising his new assignee and business partner for creating cinematic songs that paint a vivid picture of street life in Chicago. And as well as a record deal, Herbo would get his own subsidiary record label, which he named after his block, 150 Dream Team. And G Herbo's first release as part of this album deal would be the suitably titled song, No Limit, a track where Herbo would quite literally spell out his gang affiliations as a member of the No Limit Muskegon Boys. Herbo's ability to turn street pain into cinematic rap
dog, that's simply lemonade.
And in 2016, he would continue a steady climb to the top. On January the 3rd, 2016, G Herbo and Lil Bibby dropped the music video for their new track, Don't Worry. Clearly, there were no signs of love lost between Herbo and Bibby at this point, who were both seeing the benefits of getting money in the music industry rather than in the streets. That track today sits at over 30 million plays on YouTube, perhaps helped by the fact that the song paints a cinematic picture of the dangerous life on Terrortown without going as far as to diss specific dead ops by name. A much more commercial-friendly form of street music that would pay dividends going forward. As Herbo got more success through 2016, he would make public tweets about his dead friends believing in him, and by November he was appearing on The Breakfast Club, with Charlemagne making light of the violence in Chicago and joking from the start that Herbo's father probably killed people.
He probably killed people, so they ain't play with him.
Nah, I don't know. Like, I ain't gonna lie, Pops.
But as things went on, this
that nigga weird, bro.
As Herbo opened up on the violence in Chicago, being a result of the lack of leadership that the older generations of gangs in Terrortown perhaps had.
It was once upon a time where street dudes had morals and certain principles and think and move a certain way. Like, the shorties don't have guidance.
Herbo would also speak on moving out of the center of Chicago now that he'd found success in music.
I don't have a certain label where they're like, no, just keep him away from you. You feel me? Like,
But did you move out the crib? Did you move away from Chicago? Or
I moved away from where it's going down at, you know, like the inner city, you feel me? But I'm still in Chicago. It's only two things that come with the
Jail or
streets.
death.
Jail or death. Every street dude know you have to take that extra step or that small sacrifice if you want to excel in life, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Herbo would say that over the last 2 years or so, he had made the conscious decision to distance himself from street activity.
When did you say, okay, let me get out of the street and really focus on my career in music?
I would say for like the past year and a half, 2 years, I just been super focused.
Herb would go on to explain that the reality of street life is much more negative than the music would make it seem, saying essentially that the streets have brought him nothing but pain over the years.
They haven't been through the situations where they lost 5 homies. You never hear nobody waiting outside your mother, your grandmother crib trying to kill you. I cried a lot of nights being in the streets. My mother crying. If I see my mother cry, that's gonna make me cry.
Right.
Herbo would end 2016 with his November 24th mixtape Strictly for My Fans, earning Herbo his first small taste of chart success, with the project landing at number 8 on the Billboard US Heat Seekers chart. And he would go on to spend the majority of 2017 building on that success and working up to the release of his debut album, Humble.
Ah, that shit was hard, nigga!
Entry on the Billboard 200 albums chart.
The whole thing!
And the 2018 deluxe version of Humble Beast featured the Chicago drill anthem Never Cared, which I would say
that shit was even better, nigga.
Chicago drill beats in history. Herbo was truly making his way in the music industry, with a major label behind him, a label imprint of his own,
I'm fucking
and many
playing.
hit records being recognized by the Billboard charts. He was finally getting the opportunity that so many who lost their lives in Terrortown would have only dreamed of. But sadly, whilst Herbo was making major moves, many were left behind in Terrortown, and the violence would only continue to escalate in Herbo's absence. Following the death of KTS Von in summer 2015, members of the No Limit gang would continue to be targeted in attacks by their various ops. Eventually, Shooter Shells from Black Mob would be released from jail after 18 months, apparently the result of a raid in a house he was staying at with a girl.
We had this little crib together, you feel me, down there on 73rd, on Phillips or whatever. She, I don't know, I guess she was going left and she, goddamn it, called the police and got that motherfucker raided because the crib was in her name. So she gave them consent to get the crib searched or whatever, you feel me? You know, she gonna say whatever reason why she did the shit. And shit, they searched the crib. You know, they found some guns or whatever, you feel me? And you know, they found some other shit that they was able to use to pin that shit on me. So shit, I went down for that shit. I've been booked for like 18 months for that shit.
At this time, it's believed that Shooter Shells was really looking to avenge his fallen brother Scoobs, whose life had been taken by another gang whilst he was inside. Allegedly, Scoobs was killed by a man named Yogi from a set called ABK in May 2014. And after his release, it's said that Shooter Shells would get his revenge, allegedly catching Yogi, real name Dujuan Williams, on June the 27th, 2016, with the news reporting a 20-year-old man shot dead on the 7400 block of South Shore Drive. Shooter Shells had apparently caught Yogi and another 18-year-old man, shooting them both, with Yogi being shot in the head numerous times, later being pronounced dead in hospital. And Shooter Shells would go on to rap about the killing in numerous tracks. For example, in the song Pac-Man, where him and his crew quite literally tote sniper rifles in the music video, Shooter Shells would rap that he's smoking Yogi, as well as telling fans that his crew Black Mob are friendly with Lakeside, and the Cutthroats who were also beefing No Limit during this period. Considering how disrespectful Shooter Shells was getting towards No Limit in some of his songs, it's no surprise that him and G Herbo would actually go back and forth in a lyrical exchange. G Herbo had actually been dissing Shooter Shells in his music as early as 2012 on the track My Hood, where he raps that he's not scared of Black Mob and to tell Shooter that they're changing the name of his hood by killing his friends. Herbo would go further on his I'm a Boss freestyle, where he says if he sees Shooter he's going to shoot him, or blam the 8 as he puts it. So when Shooter Shells came out of jail, he was eager to drop songs clapping back at the perceived disrespect coming from G Herbo and No Limit. On March the 21st, 2017, Shooter Shells would drop his song Godfather, where he once again mocks Yogi, saying that they smoke him, going on to infer that that killing was revenge for Scoobs, as he raps he was in jail when Scoobs died, and he couldn't say goodbye. Now it's rumoured that only 9 days after this song, Shooter Shells would catch another body, with this rumoured to be his 5th murder, the 4th committed against No Limit, this being a very personal killing, the shooting of the father of Lil Wet, or Wet 'em Up, from NLMB, who went by the name of Big Wet. Now the killing of Big Wet would ultimately result in a shocking retaliation that ended up killing 4 people, but we'll cover that in more detail soon, because at this point all you need to know is that ultimately when Shooter Shells got out of jail, he was on the warpath looking to cause maximum pain and disrespect to his opposition, both in the streets and in the music. And on the 6th of April 2017, he would make a big splash with his latest diss song aimed at No Limit, titled Death of 150. This was a savage and disrespectful song aimed at his rivals, namely G Herbo and his 150 Dream Team record label. The music video featured an armory of guns, with a Tech 9 being menacingly dangled from a string in the intro, and as the video went on, we would see an individual wearing a t-shirt of G Herbo's 150 Dream Team record label being attacked, with the 150 shirt eventually being burned on camera at the end of the video. If anything, the lyrics of the track are even more disrespectful than the visuals, because it's wall-to-wall with disrespect aimed squarely at No Limit and G Herbo. He would say Herbo's rapping ass don't wanna shoot, suggesting the only way Shooter Shells can touch Herbo now is through music. He would rap menacingly that since G Herbo moved out the city, Shooter Shells is gonna come looking for him. He says if he catches somebody on No Limit turf on Essex and 79th, he's gonna put them on the news and have College Kid making videos about them. He says that Herbo will soon be meeting his dead friends, Rock, have College Kid making videos about them. He says that Herbo will soon be meeting his dead friends, Rock, Kobe, and Fazo, even referencing Herbo's earlier mixtape Ballin' Like I'm Kobe, saying that Herbo won't be like Kobe until he's dead. He goes on to say that if he catches a No Limit member, he's going to kill them regardless of there being witnesses. He says all of the disses aimed towards him from G Herbo's songs will get Herbo killed, and he ends the track dissing numerous No Limit members: G Herbo, Fazo, Kobe, Vito, Simo, and Pistol P. Death of 150 went crazy in the streets of Chicago, and had drill music fans picking sides between Herbo and Shooter Shells. It was also the biggest song of Shooter Shells' career, today sitting over 7 million views on YouTube, with his other songs tending to average in the low hundreds of thousands. This song made Shooter Shells a much bigger name in the Chicago drill scene, and in an effort to capitalize off the back of this growing buzz, he would continue to release more music, and getting more and more brazen with his lyrics. On May 22nd, 2017, Shooter Shells drops the song Real Ones, where he appears to admit to killing more people, with him even rapping at one point, "I'm talking my count alone, I've got a whole nick," meaning a nickel or 5 kills. It's strange to think that a person who, by their own admission, had allegedly killed 5 people, would allow videographers to visit their block and ask them specific questions about their life in the streets. But that's what happened, and only a few days after that song released, an interview with Shooter Shells would drop, where he would speak on the disses between him, G Herbo, and the No Limit crew, saying that he was essentially retaliating to Herbo's early disses on the track I'm the Boss, and saying that the beef between them two is personal.
You know, like, we've been in tour with them guys for a minute, you know, Lil Herb or whatever, them, like all them little 150 guys. You feel me? It ain't specifically Lil Herb, it's just all of them. You feel me? I ain't singling out just him. You feel me? All of them. We in tour with the whole, all of them. You feel me? Like, when he first started rapping or whatever, you feel me? When motherfuckers were just local, he had mentioned my name in the track. This one, I wasn't even really rapping like that. You know, everybody always play around with the music, but you feel me? I wasn't taking that shit too serious. You feel me? Motherfucker put me up on game. Not that y'all don't really, but that I'm a boss shit. He said some shit about me or whatever. You know, it's rap beef. Once a motherfucker mention my name, we go at it. You feel me? Because, you know, we really into it. It ain't like this just some odd motherfucker I never heard of. This motherfucker, you know, we into it. You feel me? So I mentioned them back, but it ain't really getting no recognition.
Shooter would say that too much has gone on in this beef, and that there would be no chance of him and Herbo squashing it.
You think it's like any way that situation can be solved?
No, I don't know, man. It been too much going on. You feel me? It's been too much going on. That shit have never got down.
Shells would also explain that the war between these two groups had escalated from schoolyard fights to gunfights and full-scale gang war.
You know, a lot of shit with the Lil Herb shit. It wasn't even just Lil Herb though, you feel me? He used to go to a whole nother, like, when I was like in 6th grade, I used to go to PAL. You feel me? Then we used to be like, you know, elementary school was close by. Elementary schools used to fight. You feel me? We been always in tour with them. And as we got older, you feel me? The shit just escalated. You feel me? So, you know, motherfuckers started gang banging, fist fights turned to gunshots. You feel me? Gunplay. As we got older, high school, and then motherfuckers started playing with guns. People started dying, or somebody got shot, and ain't nobody gonna let that shit go. You feel me? So, once a motherfucker get hit, bloodshed, the shit, it'll never be the same.
Shooter Shells would also explain that since dropping his Death of 150 diss track, his DMs are crammed with fans of No Limit telling him that he is going to be the next one to die in the war.
You feel me? You got motherfuckers, they, you know, sending me messages on Instagram telling me you gonna be the next pack. You feel me? All this extra shit, you know, fuck your dead homies, all this. Just a whole bunch of goofy shit.
A few weeks after this, another interview with Shooter Shells would take place, this time with Zach TV, where he would discuss the long-running beef with G Herbo, denying that he was dissing Herbo for clout on the Death of 150, and saying that the beef has been going on between them for years in the streets.
Yeah, you know, we in tour with them. You feel me? The Lil Herb guys or whatever, the No Limits, you feel me? We in tour with them, so there's a whole bunch of East Side shit going on. You feel me? I don't know too many people know what's going on. You feel me? Motherfucker, always talking about clout chasing like I'm just trying to come out, diss the man, and you feel me, get some clout here and shit like that. Motherfuckers been talking. Here's the thing, like even before Herb even came around, you feel me? This was like motherfuckers in 6th grade elementary school. Motherfuckers been always fighting them niggas, but in that
So this shit been going on back in the day.
Motherfuckers been fighting them since elementary school, and then as a motherfucker got in high school, the shit gonna escalate. You feel me? Then motherfuckers start playing with guns, all that shit. So I end up getting locked up again. You feel me? So I'm recently just not coming home, but you know the shit's still on, the beef still on. Motherfucker diss me, the shit is still busting. If you don't get no fuck cause he getting on, I ain't finna wrap that shit up.
Funnily enough, Shooter Shells explained why he never dissed Lil Bibby, seemingly respecting Bibby's focus on getting money rather than dissing dead ops.
And shout out to Bibby, man. You know, he on some grown man shit, but why y'all respect him?
Yeah, I got respect for Bibby, you feel me? You know, he doing his thing. I don't never recall hearing Bibby say shit about, he'll probably say the ops, but he don't say shit about no black mob. There's no fuck such and such, no fuck this, no fuck that.
Shooter Shells once again reiterated that there was so much bloodshed for the two sides to settle in this beef at this point that only the people who got rich would be the ones to escape the cycle.
Can this shit change now?
Nah. It been a lot of bloodshed.
Who is it?
Bodies lost.
Who is that?
Motherfuckers had money. You feel me? A motherfucker do that rap.
If anybody made it this far, who is that nigga trying to just get an interview? Not even on not even on no. Get out of here type shit. Like, nigga, who are you?
But it's still gonna be niggas that ain't in play that got some bread that can really stop shit. They gonna be still keeping the bullshit up. You feel me? The shit gonna keep happening, man. Motherfuckers died behind that shit. You gonna hear all his homies die. You feel me? I lost my brother to that shit, so it ain't like I could just turn my back and be like, you feel me? Fuck that shit. But if I was to get on that shit, it'd be some more like for the next generation type shit.
Okay.
Like, man, you feel me? Motherfucker gotta learn how to forgive and let shit go, because if we just keep this shit up, the shit it's just gonna be a, you feel me, an everlasting cycle. Shit will keep going on and on and on.
Halfway through this conversation, Zach TV discovers Shooter Shells' age, and I've got to say the answer surprised me too.
And let me guess, 29?
21.
Bro, you 21, bro?
Yeah, man.
What the fuck? How you age so quick? What the fuck going on, bro?
Man, I've been through a lot in my life, man.
Regardless of what Shooter Shells or any of the gangs from this story did in the streets, there's no ignoring that a lot of the violence in Chicago is likely the result of the harsh situation that many of these young men found themselves in growing up. And as Shooter Shells opens up about all the pain he went through losing relatives at such a young age, it does a lot to explain what actually caused him to become this violent person.
My OG passed when I was like 11. My pops died when I was like 9.
Man, fuck around, lose your mom and dad, lose your bro of that 2014.
Bro, you lost your mother, your father, and your brother.
Yeah.
Damn,
so that's a lot.
My condolences, bro.
To come to this shit, you feel me, all this street shit, that's a lot. A motherfucker gotta mature, you gotta mature fast, you gotta grow up, you gotta take care of yourself out here. It's all fun and games until one of your loved ones get killed, you feel me? Nobody understands shit till one of yours died. Then you be like, yeah, motherfucker be mad, you wanna strike back, but at the same time, another one of your loved ones can die. So you gotta look at your loved ones every day like, man, motherfucker get their life taken to this shit.
Shooter Shells was clearly dealt a difficult card in life, and unfortunately his reaction was to dish out pain to others. And despite having the wisdom of an older man as a result of growing up fast in the streets, unfortunately one of the consequences of causing so much pain to others would be that karma would eventually catch up. And sadly for Shooter Shells, less than a month after that interview with Zach TV, karma would indeed come knocking, when on July the 10th, 2017, some have suggested that Shooter Shells' location was given away, because as he was getting into his car, a white Nissan Altima pulled up with 3 shooters hopping out and gunning Shooter Shells down in the middle of an Auburn Gresham street in broad daylight. But that wasn't the end of things, because the murder of Shooter Shells is one of the most gruesome in Chicago history. Story has it, after Shooter Shells was struck, he would fall to the ground, at which point numerous shooters stood over him, taking turns firing bullets into his face. In what was one of the most grisly deaths in Chicago drill history, he was shot in the face as many as 18 times.
God damn, what the fuck?
His disfigured body, taken by a member of the public, and posted online, which is far too graphic to show you on YouTube. Police would recover a whopping 43 shell casings at the scene. Due to the serious nature of this crime, and likely due to Shooter Shells' involvement in numerous murders across the city, the FBI would be called in to work on the investigation, with the FBI allegedly filing a court order to search the content of Shooter Shells' iPhone, which was found in his pocket after his death. It's unclear whether the FBI found anything of note on Shooter Shells' iPhone, but what we do know as a result of police documents later posted on Reddit drill community Chiracology is that the prime suspect in the killing of Shooter Shells was Mad Max from No Limit. Numerous outlets outlets would go on to report that Mad Max was named as one of the shooters, with the cops apparently picking up Mad Max a week after the killing of Shooter Shells, catching him with a gun with a defaced serial number, but clearly the cops didn't have any further evidence connecting Max with the incident, and he was ultimately let go. G Herbo would actually go live following the death of Shooter Shells. He was with his girlfriend at the time, and she was apparently unaware of the news, finding herself surprised with just how many people had tuned in, joining the live obviously to see Herbo's reaction to the death of Shooter Shells.
Damn, my shit just went up real quick.
That's because it's your birthday, bro. They ass phony kicking. We trying to see what you doing, man. Y'all nosy as hell, bro. What y'all trying to see what she doing for? Comment who lad this is. Comment right now, first person. Who this is? This us or? Cause if this her shit going crazy like this, I ain't getting on my shit for a month. Y'all ass ain't gonna see me. Oh yeah, this my shit. Stop it. This man. This Swervo's. 153. Stop playing. This Swervo shit, boy. Stop playing.
Soon after this, Herbo would be seen running around outside in a seemingly good mood, telling viewers that he's in Chicago downtown and that it's going to take the ops 2 hours to get to him.
Hold on, wait. Oh, Vito, make a motherfucker mad as hell. Y'all good, Grill? That's a little black. That's a black. That bitch tinted it up, y'all show. Y'all show y'all want me call her PJ? Motherfucker good. Oh, game. Hold on, wait, where I'm at? Wait, hold on. Oh, Vito, bitch. Stop playing. My shit good. I'm in the rack right now. I'm downtown. Gonna take y'all ass 2 hours to get right here.
You guys have to
My baby on the pitch. Ooh, she got the VVS dress, all VVS diamonds and that shit. What y'all want to address my next location or something, boy? How the fuck they miss a whole 100 shot? How the fuck you miss a whole 100 shots? So phone him.
Eventually, Herbo would find his comments inundated with people mentioning Shooter Shells, prompting Herbo to snap into a rage and telling people to get off his page.
But y'all stop commenting shit on my page. Get the fuck off my page if y'all finna comment all this lame ass shit. I already know everything that's going on. Leave me the fuck alone. I don't know nothing about none of y'all ass. The police on Vito, get the fuck off my page with that gay ass shit. I don't know nothing about
Who the fuck whistled?
About nothing. Get the fuck off my page before I don't get on live and block all y'all that.
Principal.
Get the fuck on. Leave me the fuck alone on folks. I don't know nothing about nobody, bro. Everybody broke as hell, bro. If your ass ain't rich or no limit, I don't give a fuck about you folks. Leave me the fuck alone, folks. So,
broke niggas just called us straight for no reason.
Get the fuck off my page. Y'all ass goofy as hell.
However, despite getting angry at these incriminating comments, as time went on, Herbo would continue to make subtle references thought to be aimed at his former top op. In 4 Minutes of Hell Part 5, G Herbo would mock Shooter Shells for getting shot in the head so gruesomely, saying he never made any money and has no head left. Fellow No Limit rapper Crazy James would rap on his Never Cared remix that they're going to Shooter Shells their ops. And even Lil Bibby, the one person who Shooter Shells said he respected for never dissing the dead, would come out on the song Crack Baby, seeming to reference the incident with the line, "Last one to diss the gang, his brains was all sloppy." The killing of Shooter Shells wasn't without consequence, however, as 13 days after his killing, an OG figure in No Limit by the name of G Slim would lose their life too. Allegedly, Black Mob and Lakeside were responsible for the slaying, which took place at 5:15 AM on the 1500 block of East 82nd Street. G Slim, real name Lavondale Noble, was shot in the neck and hand and died, while another man was shot in the face and survived, with a seemingly innocent bystander being hit in the groin and neck, IDing the shooter's vehicle as a white sedan. But regardless, with one of their biggest and most feared rivals, Shooter Shells, off the streets, No Limit members might, for the time being, feel a little bit safer on their block. However, as Shooter Shells said himself, the consequence of killing a rival now means that you must live in fear for losing one of your own friends or family members. And in the years that followed, the violence would continue to play out the same way. But there was one particular act of violence that a No Limit member was accused of, just before Shooter Shells was killed, that may well be one of the most shocking incidents in this story, and perhaps even Chicago drill history at large. And that's the story of Lil Wet from No Limit, who allegedly killed 4 people in one night. On March the 29th, 2017, Big Wet, real name Jerry Jacobs, was walking on the sidewalk on the 7900 block of South Phillips at 11:13 p.m. when a dark vehicle approached and 4 men jumped out, shooting Jerry in the body as he tried to flee. He made it to the hospital but was pronounced dead at 3:40 a.m. on March the 30th. Following his death, the police would come out publicly to say that Big Wet was indeed a documented gang member. Big Wet was apparently an OG in No Limit, the Chicago gang that had been battling for decades for control of Terrortown, and he had apparently faced murder charges twice in the past. Some have suggested that Big Wet's killer had been shooter sheriffs for but for the others have contended this version of events. But much more shocking than the actual murder of Big Wet was
my fault, I'm tripping.
Because less than 24 hours
whose shirt is
his
that?
father, Big Wet, Lil Wet, aka Wet 'em Up from No Limit, would hit the streets in a fit of rage, hoping to get revenge. Police would later claim that Lil Wet went into the Nadia Fish and Chicken restaurant at the corner of East 75th Street and South Coles.
That should look
this
good as
being within a
fuck.
mile of his father's death location. Outside the restaurant was 4 men. 2 were chased into the restaurant and fatally shot in front of shocked diners, and the 2 other men attempted to run away, ultimately being chased down and fatally shot dead in 2 different nearby parking lots. And apparently 2 of the deceased men were blood brothers, visiting their mother who worked at this restaurant, with their own grandmother being seen, pictured by the news, breaking down at the scene upon discovering the tragic news, and would later appear in an interview with local news at the scene of the crime, with the distraught mother being led away from the scene in tears.
If I find out who did it, I'm gonna show ass.
We had heard maybe there was a shoot. There were shots fired inside the restaurant, and they came back.
Yeah, they were shooting at somebody. They say inside the restaurant. My boys just got in the way, I guess.
So they were shooting inside.
They got 2 bodies inside the restaurant of somebody else's kids. I imagine. They said it's 2 boys inside the restaurant. So if they got 2 bodies inside and 2 outside, oh, they just killed a whole bunch of kids up today. I just know my baby, 1 there and 1 down the street. No, they was outside. I guess they running different directions, trying to get away from the shots. It's saddening to me because they got my babies out here in the rain, in the water, just laying on the sidewalk. I mean, cover them up or something. They're just open. They just laying there on the street. They've been out here for almost 4 hours. 4 hours. How do you lay a kid on the ground?
Lil Wet, real name Maurice Harris, would later be arrested by police after allegedly being identified as the shooter, being charged with all 4 murders, with the police even publicly stating his involvement in the No Limit gang as part of the Black.
I think I seen this shit on Facebook.
On the murder of his father, Big Wet, the day before, as a clear motive, with the arrest for this mass shooting that claimed 4 lives, even making it to the TV news, which is a rarity in Chicago when murder is so commonplace.
Well, police make an arrest in a shooting that killed 4 people in the South Shore neighborhood. The suspect lost his father to gun violence just the day before.
Police say the 2 cases are related and both are tied to gang conflicts. Tonight, 1 man is in custody, 19-year-old Maurice Harris, and investigators say he is not cooperating with them. Police say the quadruple murders outside this South Shore restaurant were a planned execution in retaliation for the murder of Maurice Harris's father, Jerry Jacobs, who, like his son, was a documented gang member.
Jerry Jacobs is murdered, then 24 hours later, his own son goes and kills 4 people. So obviously, those 2 incidents are related.
19-year-old Maurice Harris is now being held without bail on 4 counts of first-degree murder. It is his first charge as an adult, but not his first run-in with Chicago police.
While I can't go into the specifics into his extensive juvenile history, as we've seen too many times before here in Chicago, he's no stranger to CPD, nor is he unfamiliar with using an illegal handgun.
Tonight, in the South Shore neighborhood, the chicken
Miller is
restaurant
fucked.
is open again, even while neighborhood residents come by to see where such a violent crime occurred.
This would be a huge case, and beating it would seem impossible to Lil Wet. Funnily enough, his No Limit homie G Herbo
There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way.
Saying that his little cousin is fighting 4 bodies, and if he beats them, he's gonna fly him out to Egypt. Perhaps Herbo thought that beating such serious charges would be impossible for his cousin. But in one of the most surprising turn of events in this story, despite police claiming to have had witnesses positively ID Lil Wet as the shooter, in June 2020, after spending over 3 years in trial, prosecutors would drop all charges against Lil Wet. Apparently, despite even having witnesses pick Lil Wet out in a photo array, ultimately the state's attorney found that the eyewitness accounts to be unreliable, with the cops claiming insufficient evidence to move
What the The fuck?
Wett's attorneys going on to say they had provided a strong alibi that apparently.
Nah, this nigga's lawyer need to be taken care of for life.
After the news broke, Lil Wet would be released, being seen on social media celebrating
Period.
and laughing the moment he got out.
That is wild. Chill, bro. Chill, bro. Chill, bro. Chill, bro.
That shit got long, shorty. We gonna get the game. Turn this shit to a memory,
Nope. Need to see what that said.
Turn this shit to a memory,
Ah, I had corona twice. That little ass shit, nigga.
Shorty came out long time.
And Lil Wet would even go on to open up about beating these charges in a 16 Shot 'em interview, sporting an enormous smile and taking an enormous hit on the blunt when 16 asks him about his father being murdered.
So I want to go back to like around the time like with the situation with your father. Like, first of all, I want to say RP to your father. But you know, like when that happened, you got the news. What were you like? What was you doing?
Man, I was doing what I was doing.
He would go on to say that when he found out his dad died, everything went dark and he woke up being charged with 4 murders.
Everything just went dark. Like it's hard to explain. Like everything just went dark.
What time was you facing?
Shit, I was facing shit like hell, life. I was nothing else. Hell.
Ultimately, Wet would say that the cops' case was based entirely on gossip, suggesting that they had rushed the case.
Actually, be the case, shit, the lack of evidence. The lack of evidence. They rushed their case too fast, and shit. When it all came out, the truth came out. Shit, they rushed their case too fast. The lack of evidence.
So what evidence was they using, or was it just like some type of?
He say, she say. Shit, you know how the streets just talk.
It's also worth noting that according to NBC News, Lil Wet and his family had apparently previously filed a lawsuit against Chicago police in relation to an illegal strip search that was carried out when Lil Wet was just a minor.
But NBC5 has confirmed that last year Harris's family filed a federal lawsuit against the department related to an alleged incident involving a strip search by 2 off-duty Chicago police officers when Harris was just 14 years old. One officer involved has since left the force. The department is not commenting on that case.
Ultimately, despite claims of an open and shut case, Chicago police would drop all the charges and Lil Wet would be a free man once again. Now, for the record, many believe that there is perhaps much more to the story, and if police truly didn't have enough evidence to convict Lil Wet, then surely someone else must have done the crime. But regardless of who you believe was truly responsible, Lil Wet would return home free of any consequence at all. And naturally, off the back of the sheer scale of the crime that he was accused of, he would become a
What the fuck my
figure in the history
I forgot I moved this shit.
speculation over whether
Need to move my shit back. That shit look crazy. I don't like it there.
But unfortunately for No Limit, while Lil Wet was in jail, they would end up losing another one of their members, the one possibly with the most feared reputation of all, Mad Max.
Alright, y'all, that's the end of this video. Shit. Was part 2 of No Limit Chicago's Deadliest Gang. I don't know if I'm gonna post part 3 tomorrow or the next day. Or what's the next day? Sunday? I might not post tomorrow because my sleep schedule gonna be all fucked up. But anyways, like, comment, subscribe, and that's it for this one.